Joining us now to discuss, former Democratic Congressman Joe Kennedy and Charles Blaine. He's president of Urban Reform Institute. Congressman Kennedy, so you just heard Phil reporting on the White House's new strategy, trying to look at what Republicans might be willing to work across the aisle. Do you think it will work? Are there enough Republicans there? And will the speaker, whoever that is, allow that to happen?
So, Jake, the only thing I'd say, it's not really a new strategy for the White House, right? This White House has actually been marked by some of their biggest successes, have been marked by that bipartisan cooperation. Yes.
We're having audio problems with you. Oh, wait, never mind. Go ahead. Start again. We couldn't hear you at the top there.
No, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hopefully. What I was saying was that this was actually been the hallmark of a Biden administration, is working across the aisle, trying to find ways to work with Republicans, knowing that some of those bigger legislative achievements, whether that was the infrastructure package, whether it was success on gun legislation, whether it was gay marriage, that it has happened with Republicans at the table, granted with the White House and Democrats in both chambers leading that, but with that cooperation. I think what you're seeing is a record of success when government actually works and when they can play to the needs of the people. And what they're doing now is challenging Republicans to say, hey, you want to work with us? You've got a willing partner, and the American public knows it. Time to deliver.
Charles, what do you think? President Biden campaigned on his ability to work across the aisle with Republicans. A lot of his big achievements have been without much, if any, Republican support. But Congressman Kennedy's right that some of the big things like infrastructure and the bill to help veterans who suffered from burn pits have passed with Republican support. Do you think there will be a willingness to do that among a Republican House?
I think to a limited extent. I mean, you're right. Biden did campaign on his ability to reach across the aisle, but the Biden that was campaigning then is very different than what we've seen over the past few years. We've seen Republicans consistently vilified over the past few years. I can't imagine that they're going to go into this Congress ready and willing to unify with Democrats. And not to mention these that did flip some of these Biden districts, they were sent there to be an effective counterbalance. That's what those voters were saying. And so they would be wise to not just acquiesce to what Democrats want, but to push forward and stand true to what they campaigned on. So we'll see about bipartisanship, but it's certainly not the same Biden that we had 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and further back.
Congressman Kennedy, CNN has confirmed that the January 6th committee is considering asking the Justice Department, they're going to vote on Monday, on whether to pursue multiple charges against Donald Trump, including obstruction of an official proceeding on January 6th and conspiracy to defraud the federal government. You're a former attorney, or maybe you're still licensed. I don't know. What do you make of these possible charges?
I think I don't want to get too far in front of the committee here, but I think what you heard was hour after hour of testimony, thousands of pages of evidence, reporting what the public saw happen and transpire in front of them, which was a sitting president of the United States incited a mob with the direct intent to obstruct the certification of an election and the transition of power. Like, full stop, period. That was the stated objective. And I think that part is pretty darn clear. I think you then have to say, well, if it's that clear, do we say that we all are actually equal under the law? Or do we say that because he was a sitting president, we're no longer going to prosecute? I applaud the committee for going as deep as they have on this. And I expect that there'll be a full and transparent discussion as to what that vote is and why and the specific elements that they seek to put forward to obviously substantiate the crime. So, and I think it's there.
Charles, even if one let's assume, just for the sake of argument, that they do bring these charges, refer the charges to the Justice Department, such a prosecution would be unprecedented. The counter argument is, so was January 6th. That was also unprecedented. What do you think? Do you think if there is evidence that Donald Trump committed crimes, that the Justice Department, whether this through the special counsel or in any other way, should prosecute him?
I mean, if there's evidence, I mean, let's let the process play out. We know that the January 6th committee wanted to see this from the beginning. I understand that everybody says that they wanted to just find the facts and sort through it all, but there was clear intention at the start of this on what they wanted the outcome to be. And so now we're going to let them wait and see what the DOJ does. And yes, I mean, just like anyone else in this country, if laws were broken, prosecution is warranted and should come. Full stop. But we have to let the process play out. But I'm not going to say that we didn't see this coming. We heard it through the intention of the January 6th committee, the comments they made in public, throughout the hearings. We saw this coming, and so it's not completely a surprise.
So, Congressman Kennedy, black voter turnout was down in the midterms. Democratic strategists are panicked that black turnout being lower, and actually Republicans doing better with Latinos and Asian Americans and black Americans could hurt the party in 2024. How concerned are you?
Look, Jake, as the adage goes, there's two ways to run for office, right? Unopposed and scared. And the fact is that anybody running for office has to make that decision as to, are we doing enough for our constituents across the board? And the fact that there's real concern about whether a Democratic Party is responding to the needs of Black Americans, of Hispanic Americans, of rural Americans, of folks outside major urban centers and outside the coast, good, right? We should have that pressure, and we should be doing more, because if you look at a map, Democrats haven't done so well there. There's a couple success stories, but the reality is here that there certainly is more we can do. And so if there's a tension there and a concern that we're not doing as much as we should be, I applaud that. And I think put the pressure on my former colleagues there and anybody that wants to run for office. As anybody that has knows, you got to go out there and make that case every single day, right? And I expect you're going to see more of that. And by the way, while there's certainly concern, right, it ended up turning out to be an election that most Democrats at a national level were actually pretty happy with the result.
Charles, I saw a study that suggested that if Donald Trump was behind a candidate, it cost that candidate 5 percentage points at the polls. But if it was a Republican running without the endorsement and whiff of Donald Trump, it was a net +2. Do you think it's time for the Republican Party to move past Donald Trump?
You know, I think that comes up to each individual candidate. I think as a base, when you talk to Republican base voters, they are starting to see the future and start seeing what the future looks like without him at the helm. And they are looking for candidates who represent their values and who aren't just out there parroting what his talking points were. And so I do think we're seeing some change there, and the tide will continue to shift as we head into this next primary cycle. But just to kind of, push back a little bit of what, or actually agree with what Congressman Kennedy said, the Democrats have not done enough when it comes to black voters, their largest voting bloc. I mean, the message was way off this election cycle. Here in Texas, they failed to talk about the issues that were plaguing everybody from immigration to crime. They completely ignored them. There was no outrage. Democrats take black voters for granted and refuse to go out into their communities and continue to court those votes. And there's no representation. In Texas, we did not have one statewide black candidate on the ballot. And so you did see a decrease in black turnout because of that. And I think Democrats are missing an opportunity there, and Republicans are going to be primed to pick it up.
Charles Blaine, thank you very much. And Congressman Kennedy, I understand from reading news reports that you're under consideration to be the Biden administration's envoy to Northern Ireland. I also understand that you're not going to confirm or deny or break that news on my show right now. But if this is your last appearance on this show as a commentator, Godspeed and Merry Christmas to you as well, Charles.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.